What's up, you guys? It's Steve here, and gas stimulus checks on a federal level for everybody in the nation. We have got a lot to get caught up on in this video. You're going to want to stick around to the end because I've got some video footage that's going to be covering everything with inflation, recession, stimulus, President Joe Biden, and everything going on. This is your breaking news stimulus check update, inflation update, and recession update. Now, take a look at the headlines, you guys. As gas prices reach another all-time record, Biden insists inflation will be his top domestic priority. As gas prices reach new highs, President Biden highlights his efforts to slow down the spike. Inflation is set at a 40-year high, with the prices for gas, groceries, and rent surging. Though many Americans are struggling, Biden insists that he is not to blame for the skyrocketing prices. He also took aim at the former president's MAGA movement and allies in Congress, saying that it is not his fault, but he's going to be making efforts to combat this inflation and high prices of gas. Republicans slam Biden, though. They come back and they say, you have canceled oil lease sales amid record gas prices. That is right, just coming out this morning. And you guys, record highs across the board. Even here in Texas, gas prices hit all-time highs in Beaumont metro area and Texas. And 2 years ago, when I first came to Houston, it was about $2 for a gallon of gas. Today, it is at $4 a gallon. So over the course of almost 2 years, doubling in price. Now, I'm going to be sharing with you some video footage. They're going to be discussing everything. Like I said, stick around to the end. They're going to be talking about what is happening with inflation. They're saying about 2/3 of the contributing factor is this increase in gas prices. And how are we going to be dealing with this? And they're saying that it looks like we could be peaking, and they said they're going to triple underline might or may, that it is not for sure, that this inflation might be here for quite some time. And how are we going to be dealing with all this? Well, one of the things that has been suggested in Congress is gas stimulus checks to help out people pay for this, as they're also going to be making the argument that stimulus has only been a small portion of contributing factors. Specifically, you're going to hear them talk about the American Rescue Plan Act, stimulus checks, past provisions that have gone through, and they're going to be breaking everything down, the charts and everything. Take a look at this and let me know your thoughts. Should we provide gas stimulus checks to help out people pay for gas and pay for this inflation if it only adds to inflation a small amount, or should we not do it at all because any additional spending could just make things even worse? Let me know your thoughts, but they're going to be breaking this down and sharing with you where things currently stand. And also, we're hearing that this is not just in the United States. This is a global phenomenon that's taking place due to everything that has unfolded with the pandemic and the war in Ukraine, the lockdowns in China, the supply chain issues, and there's a shortage on food, and there is just a lot going on right now. And we're going to be seeing how Congress responds to all this. Will there be legislation, or, as I mentioned in my last video, you might want to check it out, is executive orders and executive actions likely going to be the only way through, as Democrats can't even unify amongst themselves to pass things through the process of reconciliation? We will see. I will keep you up to date, but let's dive into the video footage. And also, first wanted to mention, check out the second channel, Steve Ram Finance, to learn about growing wealth and personal finance, even in an economy like this. Learn how to invest in stocks, crypto, real estate, start businesses. Check out that channel. I'll pin a comment down below if you're interested. But let's dive right in. And also, do me a quick favor, just takes a second, smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. Helps me out a ton. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. It helps out the channel so much. Also, leave your comments, share this out. If this is your first time here and you want to stay up to date on everything going on, totally free, why not? Come join the Bram fam. All you got to do is hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell, and if you got any specific questions for me, I'm easy to get a hold of directly. All you got to do is hop onto Instagram, shoot me a DM at SteveRam3. But with that being said, you guys, let's go ahead and dive into the video footage and let me know your thoughts in the comments down below.
Radner, Joe Biden's been traveling the country trying to show that he understands the problem out there, empathizing with it. But is inflation here to stay?
Inflation is here to stay, but we had some mixed news in the numbers yesterday, and I can take you through it. But yeah, Joe Biden is all over this because he knows this is the defining issue in the midterm elections and his control over the Senate and the House.
Steve, do you have charts?
I have a few.
Could you please share it? The kids are up.
The kids are up.
They're in front of the TV set.
Okay.
No, they're eating their Lucky
Cheerios.
Charms and Cheerios.
Okay.
And they're ready.
And they're screaming, charts, charts, charts.
Charts. All right, so let's start at charts. So look, there was mixed news yesterday, and we can start with the good news, which is inflation may have peaked.
Do you believe that?
Interesting.
I think I would put 3 lines under may, but yeah, I think it's possible. I think it's possible partly because you're getting better and better yearly comparisons. So let's be clear.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So you can see, if you see that little turquoise circle on the first chart in the upper right corner, that inflation actually did dip down a little bit last month from 8.5 to 8.3. Economists were actually hoping for slightly better, but it is the first dip in quite a while, and so it does raise the possibility of it having peaked. And even more dramatically, if you look at the chart on the right, which looks at month-to-month increases rather than year-over-year, you can see that it was the smallest increase since last August. After a 1.2% increase the month before, it was only a 0.3% increase in August. So that's the good news. Let's look at what we should worry a little bit about on the next chart, which dives into gasoline prices, because gasoline is what has been driving a lot of this, no pun intended, a lot of this inflation as well as the increases. And you can see on the left that in March, gasoline added 0.8%. So 2/3 of the inflation in March was simply from gasoline. But in April, gasoline prices actually dipped a bit, and so that helped. That is part of why inflation came down. If you take gasoline out of the equation, which are the next 2 bars toward the middle of this of the screen, you can see that without gasoline, the CPI was up 0.4%.
But gas prices have gone back up, right?
That's we're going to come to that.
Okay.
0.4 versus 0.6. If you look on the right, you can see that exactly Joe's point, that when the April survey was taken, gasoline had kind of dipped down for a little while. It's now back up, as I heard Willie say earlier, $4.40 a gallon, a new high. I was actually in California earlier this week, and without even needing to go to the gas station, but just driving along, and you see $6.50 gasoline on gas station after gas station after gas station. California's a special situation.
Wait, are you saying
Did you pump your own gas?
Your gas?
I'm sorry.
You don't pump your gas?
Tell me what.
I didn't on this particular day. Usually I do. Usually I do.
Did you go and inspect the gas being pumped for you and look at the prices?
You don't. You just have to drive down a street and you just see it's like a poster in front of you every step of the way.
Usually it's just Smithers.
I just well, I can't hit window. I must put it down.
I would enjoy so much the opportunity of pumping my own gas.
That's a go.
All right. Here we go. Okay. All right. Now
let's go to Exxon.
I do want to give some. So look, the president has been blaming everything, obviously, except himself
this
and
worries
the Democrats for the inflation. Everything.
Yeah.
But he does have at least one point on his side, which is it is a worldwide phenomenon. And if you just take a look at this last chart, a chart that the White House presumably will make some use of, you can see, yes, we do have the highest inflation among major countries in the world. But you can see there's a bunch of others not far behind us. Germany just reported its highest inflation in, I think, really decades yesterday, 7.8%, so almost as high as ours. And you can see the UK, Canada, and so on. Now, the Europeans have a tougher challenge than we do because of energy. Energy has gone up much more there than it's gone up here. But it is a fact that it is a worldwide phenomenon, although in our case, there's a fair amount of self-inflicted pain that we've put on ourselves with too much stimulus, too big budget deficits, too much bond buying by the Federal Reserve, too much money printing by the Federal Reserve. And that's what's coming home to roost. And look, it's the #1 issue, and it's going to be a really tough one for the Democrats.
So, Steve, the Fed has stepped in, the half-point lifting of the rate, probably do it again in July. Beyond that, what else stems this? I mean, this isn't going to go down in any meaningful way. Is it by the time midterms come in November, we're still going to be paying a lot of money for gas. We're still going to be paying a lot of money for groceries. It may tick down, but this is still going to be dominant in people's lives.
Yeah, that's exactly the point, Willie. I think if you look at most economists, they'd say maybe it's 4.5%, maybe it's 5%. It's some number like that probably in the fall. And you've seen the president going around talking about meat prices and hearing aid prices and big companies and all this stuff. It's not going to have any meaningful. He's got to show that he's trying, but it's not going to have any meaningful effect on inflation between now and the fall. It's going to be what it is because there's so much built in here. Airline prices were up 19% last month.
Oh, my God. So looking at your last chart, is there a message for Biden, toward the midterms and beyond that, he is establishing global stability, with Ukraine, with COVID, with any time, with NATO, with all of our partners, and therefore will help establish economic
show the
stability.
chart. I mean, it's a worldwide phenomenon, and it's happening because we're getting out of COVID. And as Steve says, in the United States, we have $2 trillion sitting on the sideline, and a lot of people who are ready to spend that money, they're starting to spend that money. That's driving prices up. You do have the war going on with Russia and Ukraine. Energy prices obviously are soaring because of that. It'll continue to soar because of that, especially in Europe. So those trend lines are going to probably keep going up, even if ours start to go down a little bit. And the third thing, of course, is China's insane COVID policy, which of course has screwed up the chain. And so you take all of those. It is a global phenomenon.
Can I add just one more thing to that? Food. Food is a huge problem.
And by the way, it gets worse with Ukraine now.
That's the point. It's because of Ukraine.
Right.
Ukraine is called the breadbasket of the world. It is the largest wheat exporter in the world. There's something like 20 million tons of wheat in storage in Ukraine that can't figure out how to get out. And this is going to be a huge problem in the emerging world. You are going to see famine. You're going to see unbelievable food prices in parts of the world because of Ukraine.
So, Steve, when I hear Republicans saying, "Oh, it's Biden's policies that have led to this inflation," I know it's a lie. But if I'm a Republican candidate and I'm campaigning and I say, okay, Steve, I want to tell the truth on the campaign trail, unlike all my other Republican brothers and sisters, what can I blame Biden for as it relates to as it relates to inflation? And I'm asking that question because let's get real here, okay? You and Larry Summers were warning the Biden administration to stop spending money. You were warning Democrats to stop spending money. And you guys were just absolutely trashed by other economists. I won't use their names, but they're the same people that said for 20 years there's such thing as a free lunch. And you said, no, the chickens are going to come home to roost. So that being said, do you point to the COVID relief bill? Because before that, everything was bipartisan.
Yeah, look, I think you would basically say that Biden wanted to spend us into inflation. You had the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan, which was passed early in his administration, which handed out a bunch of stimulus checks.
No Republican votes on that.
No Republican votes on that. And which, candidly, I think most economists at this point would say was putting a bit of gasoline on a fire that was starting to rage. But that would be your centerpiece. And then, remember, Biden wanted to propose another $6.5 trillion.
Yeah, but he didn't, though. And see, that's the thing. When Republicans start talking about that. No. But what I'm asking, what is he responsible for? His words didn't fuel inflation. So that $1.9 trillion bill. Now I'm going to be a lawyer. All right. So look at COVID. Look at the $2 trillion on the sidelines. Look at the war. Look at the increased energy prices. Look at the supply chain chaos. And then look at this $1.9 trillion bill. What percentage of those lines, of that inflation, of that 8.1%, what percentage would you really say that $1.9 trillion bill was responsible for?
The $1.9 trillion bill by itself, small percentage.
A small percentage.
Yeah.
Okay, so take that out, then what? We're at 7.5%. Maybe it's the difference between where we are and where Europe is.
Right. The other piece of the puzzle, though, was the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve went crazy. And again, they were trying to save the country during the pandemic. They were trying to take the risk of doing too much rather than the risk of too little.
That's not Biden's fault.
It's not Biden's fault. Now we're getting a little bit into the weeds. It's not Biden's fault, except the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jay Powell, wanted to get reappointed, which he has gotten reappointed, and therefore one could possibly imagine wanted to make the White House happy.
Could possibly.
So there you have it, you guys. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think that checks are going to be on the way? Do you think that inflation is going to be here to stay? Let me know what you think is going to be happening, you guys. And also, Congress, are they going to be passing more legislation, or is there going to be executive orders and executive actions that are going to need to take place? Let me know your thoughts, you guys, but I will keep you up to date on everything that's unfolding here on the channel. And as always, thank you so much for joining me. If you made it this far and you haven't already, don't forget, take a quick second, smash that like button for me. Helps out a ton with the algorithm. Thank you so much. Also, leave your comments, share this out. If you want to stay up to date, totally free. I'll keep you up to date on everything going on. Just hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell. If you got any specific questions for me, shoot them to me in the DM on Instagram at SteveRam3, and consider joining my second channel, Steve Ram Finance, to learn about growing wealth and personal finance. But with that being said, you guys, once again, thank you so much for joining me, and I will catch you in the next one. Take care. God bless. This is Steve.